But welcome, everyone. I really appreciate your time today. My name is Samantha Thorstensen. I work here at the ISS National Laboratory. And a little bit about me. I was a classroom educator for 14 years before I left the classroom to join NASA education. And that moved me to Florida, where I'm currently residing. And I worked at NASA education at KSC for about 5 years before I fell in love with the programs and the opportunities that the ISS National Lab offered. And so I just celebrated my 7th year anniversary here at the National Lab, and it has been an amazing journey. And so when I was teaching in the classroom, I ended up moving from St. Louis, Missouri to Panama City, Florida, and got a job teaching at a NASA Explore School. And space curriculum changed my life. It changed how I taught, how I engaged with my students and my parents and my school and my community. And it really just changed the game for me. I feel like at the 7-year mark, I had that 7-year itch. I was like, is education really what I want to do? And it re-engaged me, reignited me. And so now, ever since I left the classroom, that has kind of been my mission, to re-engage and excite educators, anyone that's out there talking about space research, engagement, activities, that is what I want to do. And so I really get a lot of ability to do that here at the National Lab. And so today I want us to be able to have a conversation, have some time. I'm going to try my best to pause for chats or jumping in, because I'm not always the best at reading the chat while I'm talking. So you can always unmute yourself to ask a question or jump in at any time. But I usually just go through like a lot of the programs that we have, but I really wanted to take the time to kind of think about the future. And I was listening to the session before that, and I heard from a few of you about thinking about the future. And I know there's even a gentleman here that's got a great book about cosmic careers. I thought that was fantastic, because that's what we want our kids to start thinking about, right? What does the future look like? And so I have this really fun slide I did. And I love AI because it makes me look amazingly cool. I don't know, I'm not an astronaut, but I can play one through AI. And so, thinking about the future of space, right? What are we going to need? We're going to need kids that are excited about the STEM fields and industry, but more than that, right? What is it going to look like? What are those 21st century skills? Systems thinking, which was something that we're trying to wrap around and incorporate into our programs, right? Because we need these things, but how does the environment play a role? How does government play a role? How does, people's heritage play a role? Like, we need to really think about the bigger picture of this when we're looking at the future of space. So, and I mean, technology, AI, I've only scratched the surface creating these fun little pictures of me with cool pink hair, but we really need to think about that and engage with the students at a whole different level. And that's another reason I love the programs at the National Lab, because I feel like we're getting to that point and we're constantly trying to re-engage and reimagine of what that could possibly look like. So if you don't know what CASIS is, or the ISS National Lab, CASIS is the management organization for the National Lab. So CASIS is an acronym, the Center for the Advancement of Science and Space. And so we manage half of the up mass, down mass, and astronaut time aboard the space station, and NASA manages the other half. So if you hear a commercial that you see a pharmaceutical company that says, oh, we've researched in space, it's most likely come through our allocation to the space station. And so all the education programs that we do really are very unique and in a great partnership with NASA, because often we utilize them for, we need some additional space, or they do. So they're an amazing partner that we have through this. But that's a little bit more about the lab. And as you can see, there's some really amazing astronauts that we get to work with, a facility that we get to work with, and it's an aging machine, and we're constantly updating it. And there are new, exciting platforms that are being built and designed, and hopefully we'll have them up, in the near future. Currently, station is slated to be decommissioned in 2030, but depending on where these commercial space stations are, that time could be extended, decreased. There's all kinds of possibilities. So we have to get our students as well as our organizations prepared for what that might look like. And so the education arm of the space station is called Space Station Explorers. And it's just this community of education partners programs. It started with just a few that needed to get to station and use those resources. And so it has grown and blossomed into an amazing amount of over 20 sponsored programs that we have, as well as 40 plus education partners. We've actually just signed an MOU with Blue Origin. I was just at the last session, and they're doing some amazing things, and we want to work with them to send postcards, to do all these types of things. And so those are the types of programs and partnerships we look for. I'll tell you a little bit more about our ambassador program in a minute. It sounds like a lot of you are out there in the community talking to people, doing outreach events. Maybe you're just a space enthusiast. These are ways to get you resources. We are a U.S. national lab, and so we're funded by tax dollars. Hello. And so we have to be considerate of that when we work with international partners. But the great part about that is we have partners that work really closely with international partners. So we usually have to work through them, like the Space Foundation. We partner with them on webinars and things because they work really have amazing programs for international partnerships. And I can go through each of the partners and kind of give you a little bit more about which one of them work US based versus internationally. But I'm going to go ahead and go through a few of the programs. About 80% of our programs are free. And then there are some fee-based programs, but usually you're getting equipment, you're getting content, you're getting something that you need to fly something in space for those. So did anybody have any questions before I dive into the partnerships? Okay, see some chat stuff. All right. Very good. Awesome. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and get going into the programs. So my little mouse is just deciding it's gonna have its own ideas. The ambassador program. So you are more than welcome to join the ambassador program. That little QR code should take you there and how to sign up for it. It's really kind of what you make of it. When I was in NASA education and working in a NASA school, they have a great program called Solar System Ambassadors. And I think I gave you all the years, so you probably figured out how old I am by now. How many years ago it was when they used to give a lot of funding, NASA did, to these programs for educators. They sent me to all the NASA centers. We got to go to Educator Space Camp. I even got to do a reduced gravity flight with my students' payload. And so there was some amazing things. And those wells kind of dried up over time, or funding got shifted to other programs. And so when I joined the National Lab, I'm like, how can we bring that and support educators in that same way? And so we have some funding that we use to support them. That picture's got Ashley Smith. She is an ambassador located in Michigan. And so she can join us for different outreach events. When she does events, we send her posters and stickers and things so that she can pass them out. But if we're needing somebody with maybe your specialty, right? Because Alistair, I heard about you a little bit before in the last session, and we're building out our workforce development program and our higher education program. And we love people who are connected to that career development. And so if you were an ambassador and you click that is your specialty, when we have an event that we're looking for people with that specialty, we go through the database and say, hey, who are our ambassadors that have this skill set? And we're going to give you a call and say, hey, can you support this? Or is there anything that you can, do to be a part of this? Similar with other programs that we have, maybe there's a biology component. We're looking for people who have biology teaching experience or have a biology classroom. Maybe it's high school, maybe it's elementary or early childhood, informal versus formal education, as well as geographical, right? Like if I'm going to California and I need support at a conference, I'm going to look for local educators or ambassadors in that area. So say, hey, can you come and support this conference? You'll get professional development. You can help us at the booth. You can learn more about our programs. Usually there's some really great giveaways. And so it's another great opportunity for ambassadors.
I'd love to, by the way. I don't know if I'm not officially officially an ambassador if it requires membership or something like that. But I do have I do have a method of a contact. I just sent you my email
Okay,
and
great.
my LinkedIn, and I have a new email right here that's strictly for podcasts and space. I should start using that more often.
Yeah,
But,
no, fantastic.
if you need me for anything, just contact me. Would you like my phone number, by the way?
I'll email you. I'll definitely will.
Okay,
That's great. And we can
that's great. And
connect.
I could send you my my mailing address too, snail mail, if you'd like to send me a letter. Would you like?
Yeah. That's okay. And that's a great part because we'll get all that when you click on this and you register, it asks you all those things.
All right.
So
Well,
it's an easy way to find people.
okay. For me to register and to know about it, notify me by email or LinkedIn, okay?
Sure. And we'll send you guys all out something too, because I think
All
we
right.
have
And
if you're here.
I just sent you a picture of my book, the cover,
Yeah,
in the chat. You saw that, right?
I did. And I got to see it in the last session too. So it was really wonderful. Like, congratulations. That looks
Thank
exciting.
you. Thank
But yeah, you can, if you don't can't scan this QR code or anything too, available on our website, you can always sign up later too. And like I tell
Okay.
people, it's really what you make of it. If it's something you just want to get information, that's fine. We're talking about even leveling it and tiering it for our more engaged ambassadors, because we do give an award out every year for distinguished ambassadors, and we fund them to come to our conference. We have an annual conference called the ISS Research and Development Conference.
Mhm.
This summer it was in Seattle. Next summer it is in Boston. And so we bring them out, give a nice award. It's a really great recognition for
Great,
educators outside of just
great,
attending these things. So yeah, feel free.
great.
So I'm going to go through the programs. There is a lot of them, so I'm going to talk fast. Please turn off your mute and just pipe in if you have additional questions. I'll do a quick brief pause after each of them. But I just want to get through them because there's so many really amazing ones to get through. ARIS, which is Amateur Ham Radio on the ISS. This takes about a year out to plan for, but is a free connection, a free contact with the astronauts on station. And I know a lot of people like, I don't know anything about ham radio. That is okay. They will show you and teach you. They even reach out to your local ham radio clubs and communities, and they'll bring them to your school, your organization. They'll teach them how to use the equipment, do a test. But it's a really beautiful community event, and this is an international program. So anyone can sign up to do a part of it because, of course, station goes around the whole globe. So there are great contacts and communication opportunities. Sally Ride Earth Cam. This one has about 4 or 5 different opportunities a year that you can sign up for. So whatever expedition it is, you sign up, and your students or programs can pick locations somewhere on the globe to take a picture of. And I'll be real with you, most kids want to take a picture of their house from space, which is amazing, right? That grabs their attention, it gets them excited. But if you are teaching geography, you can try to find locations, geology, how the planet is changing over time. I've seen this happen because there's a repository of images that you can pull from to see how landscape and the planet has changed. So it's an amazing program. It also teaches kids a lot about weather. They're surprised when their photos come back and there's lots of clouds and they can't see. And they're like, wait a second, what's going on? This is our planet often. So I ended up learning a lot from this program just indirectly. I know we love our STEAM and making sure art is a vital component into what we do and how that helps make obviously well-rounded students. And we need all kinds of people in space. And SciArt Exchange is an amazing partner of ours who does art-based science and space competitions. They'll do designing habitats, they'll do contests, and we work with them often to send art to space, right? Like how would it be to say my art was selected, chosen, and now there's maybe even a digital version and an astronaut's engaging with. And so we're working with them constantly to develop new ideas and concepts. So if that is your lane, please reach out to these programs. You don't have to come through us. You can reach directly out to any of these education programs.
Oh, and welcome to the International Space Station.
I like how this one automatically started.
Astronaut Kate Rubens. And today, we're going to read a book about Rosie Revere, Engineer, by Andrea Beatty and illustrated by David Roberts.
Don't worry, we're not listening to the whole book.
This is the story of Rosie Revere, who dreamed of becoming a great engineer. In Lila Greer's classroom at Blue River Creek, young Rosie sat shyly, not daring to speak.
So that was story time from space. We send a couple trade books up every year where the astronauts can float around and read those. These are all available free. There's dozens of titles. So the great part about it is you don't even need the book. I've already got that one on my list, Alistair, to send up. Jean's amazing. So yes, we would love to send that one up. There's just definitely a backlog of them. And, we have it not giving you guys too much information. We used to have a system and programs ours are always developing and growing. But now we have a very strenuous, robust, competing opportunity. So we have these national lab research announcements, or we lovely call them NLRAs, and there's solicitations. And there's an education one every year. There's technology, fundamental science. There's different avenues for people to get their science aboard station or education aboard station. And we get a bit of funding for that. And so when you want to send something to space, you have to have this thing called an implementation partner. And you get that implementation partner, and there are several out there. And so you would work with each of them, find out who's going to give you the best service, best cost rates, things like that. And then you work with them to send your item to space. And so Storytime is currently doing that. And so that's why there's been a little bit of a lull in some of the books that have come out, but she is working diligently to make that happen. The newest book, which I'm really excited about, that was launched when you visit Storytime from Space site, is called Totality. And so it's getting us excited about the eclipse. So we had their partial back in October, but getting everybody excited about April 8th, right, of next year. And if you're not already excited or getting your glasses, I would say now's the time to do it. If you wait too long, you're not going to have the opportunity to either go to the path of totality and find some place to stay, or get glasses and all of those things. So it's a great opportunity to engage the space community and get people who aren't already engaged in the space community. Our organization will be in Dallas at the Arboretum. We have some really great partners there, as well as some astronauts who will be joining us who've been a part of Storytime with Space in the past. We will have Jeffrey Bennett, who wrote Totality, as well as Max Goes to the Space Station, Max Goes to Mars, Max Goes to Jupiter, Max Goes Everywhere. If you haven't seen those books, they're adorable. And then we'll have Pocket Lab, one of our partners, and Steve Spangler. So there's some really amazing partners and groups that are going to be attending that with us. So I hope you can join us, and hopefully we'll have some additional information as it gets closer to that April 8th date. We have a partnership with PBS, with Sci Girls. If you're trying to encourage young girls to get into space, this is a really great program. It follows some young ladies over different trials and tribulations that they've had in their past or even growing up. Like Abby, you see on the screen, she was a kid who hated math in 5th grade. Not her thing, right? And she went on to send a payload to space. She studied also in college, and now she works for Los Alamos National Laboratory in a math field. So there's some really great stories of these ladies and everything they've gone through. So I would definitely recommend that one. Orion's Quest. This is one that's ever changing, because this is a free website you go onto. You can pick your grade level or ages that you're working with. And depending on that, it'll give you different curriculum and missions. And so they're all based on the science that's happened aboard Space Station. So we have butterflies in space, spiders in space for the young ones, right? They get really excited about it. So teachers often do those butterfly habitats, right? They will watch the whole process, and let's add another variable. What happens if we do this in microgravity? What's going to happen? And so it's another way to embed that word microgravity into kids' very young vocabulary. And I can't imagine what would happen if I would have had that in my vocabulary. I might have become that icy moon specialist or some other field, because I was exposed to it at a young age. I love the thought of STEM identity. And if you're not familiar with that term, just seeing yourself in those roles. And I think this program does a really great job with that. When you get into middle school and high school, there's other programs like stem cell research. They have a really great one called The Cure, which is cancer research. And my mom was diagnosed with cancer when I was 12. And if I would have been exposed to something like this, I could definitely see myself gravitating to that and being curious on how I could play a role, right, into making that better. But there's really good, they have biofilms, which I didn't even know what a biofilm was until going through this program. I was like, oh, that makes sense. I don't want to give all the way the fun, but you guys can definitely check that one out. There's worms in space, but they're all related. And as new science payloads go up, we have opportunities to develop new curriculum and get kids currently like engaged with the science that's happening in Fourth Station. But I am going to pause right there just because I want to look at the chat, see if anybody's got any questions or if anybody else has something they wanted to talk about. Okay, I think we're doing good. Awesome. All right. Our next program is Tomato Sphere. And I was hearing about this too with the last session, and it was like, how awesome would it be to hold and touch something that's gone to space, or have your students say, here, hold this, this has been to space. And Tomato Sphere does that, which is what I love. And you can sign up for it. Your seeds take about 4 to 6 weeks to get, but we fly about those big bags, about 1 million seeds a year. And so you can sign up, and actually it's a blind study. You get 2 packets of seeds, one that's been to space, one that hasn't, and they don't tell you which one's which. So you're completely growing these, trying to figure out which one is going to space, measuring, collecting data, and there's free K through 12 curriculum that goes with this. So if it's the little kids learning about parts of a plant, or you're looking at germination rate, you're looking at photosynthesis, capillary action, you can tie these with standards, no problem. And then when you think you know, they'll ask you for your input and your data, you click it, and then it'll tell you which packet actually flew into space. So this is one of my dear, true to my heart programs, because again, it's one of those things, if you can say you've touched something that went to space, it can be pretty profound in a student's life. As well as I've seen some great entrepreneurial skills come out of this, where they'll grow them to fruit and they'll create space salsa, space pizza. I've seen all kinds of fun things that students have done with these. Windows on Earth. This is another one of those that we're talking about, Sally Ride Earth Cam. You take the pictures, well, a beautiful repository of images that have already been taken. So if you're studying hurricanes, if you're studying, and you name it, there's a variety of things that are categorized here on Windows on Earth. But if you ever talk to an astronaut, one of their favorite things to do in their free time is take photos. And we've got a great collection of them through this program. Zero robotics. I don't know how many of you might work with middle school and high school, but that's what this program is for. And again, it's completely free. It's a beautiful partnership with MIT. And what it does is summer, it does programming in, middle school does programming in the summer, and high school can do it year round. This can be, mostly it's for those informal groups in the summertime for middle school, but for high school, I've seen it as part of curriculum. I've seen it as after school clubs. When I worked with this, I started working with it when I worked at NASA, and we would host the finals. So middle school codes for 6 weeks, and they actually have to have an international partner, which is what I love about this program too. So it's an international partnership, and they create the best code. And then it's a competition based. So maybe Florida is going against Texas, or a Florida, Florida Europe connection is with Texas and Africa connection, right? And so it's ranked, and those robots are competing against each other. But all summer you're doing it in a virtual setting. But the finals, you'll see that astronaut and you'll see those robots. It used to be spheres, but they just got upgraded to these amazing Astro Bees. I can't remember all their names. I know one is Queen, one is Bumble. But again, they just make it so much fun for the kids to engage in. And again, high school does very similar things. Genes in Space. This is a great partnership with Boeing that we have, and it's a genetic competition for high school students every year. And the students, the top 4 or 5 will come to our conference every year, present in front of a panel of judges, and then they will be selected to move on. And then the finalist is announced at our conference. And that payload usually goes up within the next year to space station. Some people might be like, well, we don't have the resources. Boeing has even put up funds to do loaner kits for your groups. And you just even need a concept. You don't even have to always have the equipment, have that knowledge base. They partner you with scientists in the area, universities, to kind of develop that through time. And then the finalists obviously work with implementation partners to take that to the next level. But I think that's the end of the free ones, and I'm going to go to the fee-based ones. Did anybody have any questions before I continued? I don't see anything in the chat. All right. I know it's a lot of information. I always tell people take some time to digest and then reach back out to us later if you have any questions. ISS Above, this is a really fun device, and this device can be plugged into a TV or monitor, and it's kind of a PowerPoint presentation. It gives you, my favorite is the live feeds of station, from station of Earth. And so you're real time, has station, but then it will show you another picture because it flips through kind of like an auto PowerPoint of the Earth and where station is. And then the next one will tell you when the next passes over your location. So you do need to connect it to your internet at the beginning so it has your location so it can track it. And then it'll even show you who the crew is on board, different activities. Maybe there's a spacewalk, something else is happening. It'll tell you that, and then it'll go back to that live image. And you can even modify this to do presentations in, anything in. But what I love is those little LED lights on it. They light up anytime station comes overhead. So it lets you know. But we did fund a free middle school guide. You'll see that guide there that says 6th through 8th grade. That's available for free on our website right now. You can take a look at it. It does some orbital mechanics. It does a variety of different skills that are really great to engage in those middle school audience. But you can even take a look at that before you decide. You might even have Raspberry Pis because that's all this is made of with laying around. The gentleman, Liam Kennedy, who runs this, is amazing. He will even help you design your own, build your own, and give you the software that you need to help run it. He developed this to teach his 4-year-old grandson where station was. And so it's a labor of love and a passion project for him. ExoLab, I think I thought I saw someone possibly on here that might have one of these. These are growth chambers, plant growth chambers. And so you would have the ground-based station for that, as well as any seeds that will be happening on the next flight. So the company Magnitude.io sends seeds up to station to be put into this chamber, and then you get the exact same ones. But you're not only getting the seeds, you're getting a database that lets you check your humidity, light. There's so many different sensors on these, as well as comparing data within maybe your own school, your own community, your own state. You can even take it globally for everyone to compare and contrast with that one. So, Ted Tagami is his name, who runs this organization, and he's phenomenal. He's traveled multiple countries and worked with lots of different organizations to have these growth chambers. He also does a program called CanSat, which is how to do balloon launches and some other things. So he's a wonderful partner. ISS Grow Labs, you might have heard of NASA Veggie, that program. They work really closely with Fairchild Botanical Gardens in Miami, and they do these growing beyond Earth activities. And so there are scholarships all the time to get these growth chambers for your organization. Is they pass them out as they get funding. So they constantly get NASA funding and different funding opportunities, and they pay that forward to people. It used to only be a Miami thing, then it was a Florida thing, now it's a national program. So that is a really great one. It's still under the fee-based ones only because you can purchase them if there's no scholarships available, but I would always tell people wait for a scholarship because they have them all the time. Quest for Space. I love this program. They've got like 4 now, I think, different levels. One is in the 20+ thousands of dollar range where you send a student flight experiment up, all the way down to a free program they have where you can request an image, a saying, anything in a BMO to be put up there. So if you wanted to tell your best friend happy birthday, you could say happy birthday from space, and send their name up, and you get a video clip recording of that looks like, and there's some things floating around, and it's really great. But the other levels are maybe you're building an experiment for heat conduction, right? Convection and conduction. I think that's what this one is right here. And it's using those Lego robotics. So if you already have those, that can be incorporated into it. But they've got several levels. If that's something you're interested in, I definitely recommend visiting their site and diving into a little bit more of some of those programs. Go for Launch. They have two different pathways, an art pathway and a science pathway. But what this program does, and it's a fee, and you pay to join the experience. It's usually a 3-day engagement. And what Michelle Lucas does, and she is the owner and operator of this program, she brings astronauts, engineers, educators, everything to your location. And she takes the kids through the whole payload development process. Everything from, let's develop a mission patch. What is a mission patch? What is the symbolism there? To, let's see, why are we studying this, and why is studying in space important? And then each group comes up with a plan or an experiment. And then she'll do this in a few cities. And then one lucky group who proposed a plan will get selected, and their payload will go to space. But it's just a really great, engaging activity for how many days that she has got planned. I know her fees vary based on location and availability. If there's a free location, obviously they don't have to pay for that. Or if there's extensive travel, that would affect the costs as well. So I would recommend reaching out to her to get more of that information. And we call this one SSEP, or the Student Spaceflight Experimental Program. They've launched 25 payloads just last night at the Kennedy Space Center. And so it was a beautiful launch, it was successful. But these students sent up a variety of experiments. You call them and you work with the program. It is an expensive program. I know we had a local group that did it, and they used after school funds for a local charter school here in Brevard County to do that. But it definitely has a bigger price tag on it, but it's a very deep and rich experience. And we were just talking about this yesterday, and when you talk about kids that are athletes, and they're like, the percentage of kids who get to be pro is so tiny. And I was like, think about the percentage of kids who get to send an experiment to space. I bet it's even tinier. So it's a very amazing, impactful program. Pocket Lab is one of our newest programs. We are working with them. They really want to send their sensors to the space station. And so they have worked on these free notebook resources to educators to develop experiments, because they're ready, and lesson plans, because they're ready to see those aboard space station. And so we're hoping it can happen, but there's even ways to communicate with your students and work with your students using these sensors in preparation for that. So we were excited to partner with them. And if you've ever been to any of their science unconferences, Science is Cool unconferences, they're free conferences, and they're amazing. Dream Up, this is the education arm of one of our implementation partners, NanoRex. And they also will help design and experiments for your students. And they also started developing these amazing kits. You can even find them on Amazon. We have this one, I think is the Germs in Space kit, where I used to always do this with my students when I taught middle school science. We would swab different areas and look and see which one was the germiest, right? Well, if I'm swabbing my keyboard and I'm growing that, what if we swab the keyboard on the space station? Will it be different? Well, this is this, closed system, very secure, very clean environment, or how clean is it really? And so it's fun to make those comparison datas with this kind of kit. They also have a space farmer kit, and they're constantly working and developing new resources. Other programs and partnerships that we have, we do the launch events. So when those students do payloads and they send things, even the authors of the books, we invite them all out to the Kennedy Space Center to watch the launch, to do presentations to the public, which is really exciting. And we invite them here. So it's a really rich experience. I know I was mentioning earlier about the workforce development in higher education. We have a fellowship program currently for undergraduates in their junior, senior year, or graduate students. We even have a postdoc last year, and we just awarded our new one, so there's probably not an opening right now, but you have to look for that one in a couple of months if you're interested. But it's a space leadership fellowship. And so these are people we are already excited about space, right? But we've learned, and even in our organization, once you get into the space industry, it's a weird navigation. Well, I have this skill set, but I'm really drawn to this. Maybe it's business development, maybe it's operations. We have scientists who are on the operations team. We have, engineers who are on the business team. And so it's really important that we have that cross reference, even with our lawyers and our accountants, that they understand some of the science that's happening. It really just makes them a richer environment. So that was kind of our goal with this leadership one, is to understand the landscape and how everything works together, because it's constantly changing and it's sometimes can be challenging to navigate. But getting into that network and that group can really help feel supported and making those decisions easier. But we're talking about developing into internship programs and some other opportunities. There's, for anyone who is college students, there's professional organizations that have free or very low cost, whether it's ASGSR, AIAA, SEDS, you name it, they're there. There's scholarship opportunities on our website from all of our partners. So we want to make sure it's hopefully kind of a one-stop shop you can check and see what's out there. But I know there's a ton more on here. The launch events, the fellowship. I love some of our fun partnerships we get to do from time to time. We've worked with Redwire Space recently with Guardians of the Galaxy, and there's a 3D printer on space station, if you didn't already know. And they wanted to do a partnership with Microsoft about teaching kids some data components, and as well as learning about 3D printing and how vital and important it's going to be for the future of us doing space travel. And so there's some really great content and curriculum developed around that. We did slime in space, Nickelodeon slime in space. So we know kids love slime, but now they're all calling it non-Newtonian fluids, right? So they're learning about some principles of slime, and even the astronauts were surprised about how some of the slime behaved. I don't believe we're going to ever be allowed to do this one again. It was definitely messy. But we had this partnership. We just had a new one with Barbie, with the Dream Gap program that they have. If you can see it, you can be it, and to inspire young girls. So there's a vlog around the Barbies giving a tour of the space station. So there's just a lot of really fun and exciting things too. We understand we have to meet kids where they are. And often that's hanging with slime or playing with Barbies or watching Marvel movies. So there's some really great partnership programs that we have there. But definitely all of this is available on our website. You can Google them, but if you wanted to look at them, if you click on this, you can go straight to our website. It will list them alphabetically, A to Z. So A for Aris, Z for Zero Robotics, and everything in between. I'm going to just check the chat real quick. And if you guys had any questions, I'm happy to jump in. Oops, I guess I should bring that over here. Oh yeah, thanks, Alistair. Yeah, we actually have a really great partnership with Astro Access. I don't know if you're familiar with that, and that works with students with disabilities. And one of our fellows was involved with Astro Access. Actually, two of them were indirectly. One, she works on the board as a student board for Astro Access, and just supporting individuals with disabilities. And she's helping us make our conference more accessible with translators, you name it, looking at all aspects of accessibility. And our UAC, it's called the User Advisory Committee, and there's an education subcommittee for that. So if you have any suggestions on how to improve the National Lab, they're a great place to go. Astronaut Katie Coleman is on that committee, and she's heavily involved with Astro Access. As well as, again, our other fellow, she does her part-time job is working for flight attendant for 0G flights. And so she supports those flights for Astro Access because there's a lot of reduced gravity flights and some fun things they can do. So that's exciting. Let's see. Suit.
And what I have just put on is mentioned in Cosmic Careers. There's even an anecdote about it.
Oh, fantastic. I know there's a really great pathways for work at Kennedy Space Center that they have as well. So I got a question. Can students directly register for these programs? Often they have to be a 18 or older kind of led program. So like Tomato Sphere, they ask that question, right? They want to make sure there's a responsible adult overseeing the design. But things like Storytime for Space, you can click and look at those books. My daughter has it on her tablet and she checks out those stories all the time. And so I always put Rosie Revere because that's her favorite. But yeah, so depending on the program, most of them do require that adult lead. Yeah, and so I see the one from Pakistan. Yeah, please sign up for become an ambassador. And we will definitely connect you with different opportunities that are available in your area or available through our partnerships. Because again, if like we know, let's say Magnitude IO is heading into your area, we're going to go through our database and select everyone in that area and that country and say, hey, this group's coming to your area. Would you like to learn more? And the ways to connect with them. So definitely everything we filter through that ambassador program is our go-to. So even from Europe, from anywhere, we can definitely do that. The only downside I have to say is if you're doing an event, we can't mail you posters and stickers just because we have limitations because we're US funded, taxpayer dollar funded. So we can't do that, but definitely our partners can. And so we connect you with those partners to enable that to happen. Yeah. All right, I think I'm almost out of time. Expedition Space Lab, I'll go really quick. This one just delineates it for you because we heard from educators, you've got too much stuff, where do we start? So this is ways to start small. So if you know somebody who's like, where do I even begin? Here's some great easy lesson plans on our website. So you click on it, it'll give you what discipline you want, and then you can pick a couple fun activities. So they're just quick, easy grabs. And we do have a funding opportunity every year to do a $10,000 Space School Lab. Even though, as you heard, most of the stuff is free, you can develop these kind of things free, but we wanted to at least give back to educators in some way with this. And there's even form letters that you can take out to your local credit union or whoever and say, hey, would you like to sponsor part of my Expedition Space Lab? If there's biology labs and chemistry labs, why can't there be a space lab? Yeah, I didn't leave it up very long if anybody wanted to grab that QR code. So I will put that back up just to get you to that website. But again, all of that is available through issnationallab.org/STEM. So you can definitely get to those resources. But yay, I made it in time. And a little bit of time for us to chat and have a conversation because that's really where the fun happens. Most of the time. So did anybody have any additional questions or I didn't get to it? Oh, the website. Let me put it in the chat here so that you guys have that. And it'll give you a minute to think of all these awesome questions or conversations we're going to have. Oh, I'm sorry. I hit direct message instead of to everyone. And to everyone. There we go. There's the link to the website. And I'm available on LinkedIn as well. I can put that in the chat if you'd like to connect. I'm probably one of those people who do not check it, but maybe once a week, every other week. I'd like to get to it more, but our work emails keep us extremely busy. And that ambassador program does too. But I love it because it gives you a chat feature in the dashboard when you become an ambassador. So if you're like, hey, I'm trying to do like agriculture and space with my kids. Do you have any good lesson plans or resources? Or, hey, does you know anybody who works in the space field in agriculture? I really love to somebody come talk to my class. That would be great. So you can pull from them. I just learned about Blue Origin's speaker series and speaker bureau. NASA has one of those as well. I love telling people even though I don't work for NASA anymore, I love telling them all the resources that are available. If you live in the US, you are connected to a NASA center. Kennedy Space Center actually services Florida, but not Florida alone. It services Florida, Georgia, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands. That is its zone, right? And so growing up as a kid in Missouri, I had no idea it was connected to a NASA center. But sure enough, I believe it's Glenn in Ohio. I'm trying to remember which one it was. It might have shifted or moved, but everybody's connected to a NASA center in the US. Hey, I see your hand raised. Go ahead.
Sorry. Thank you. Sam, the link that you shared, it's like a general feed. It doesn't link to your actual LinkedIn account. Sorry.
Oh,
If you
I'm
could,
sorry.
yeah,
Thank you.
please.
I appreciate you letting me know. I know. I'm ready to change my LinkedIn picture to that pink one because it was just too much fun.
Also, you guys, if you do go to the schedule site, with the descriptions of the sessions, there's also the bios and links for all the presenters.
Awesome.
I'll drop
Thanks.
that link in too.
Yeah. I'm about to say, and for those of you who came to see my colleague, Courtney Black, I'm going to put her information in too, because she's phenomenal. I know she was originally on here. And so I hope I did her proud, but Courtney's fantastic. Awesome. Hey, Pam, how are you? Yay, we have an ambassador in the house.
Yes, I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good. I didn't
Good.
scroll all the way down, so I didn't know who was here, but
Yeah.
welcome.
Well, I just wanted to put in a good word for all of the different opportunities that you guys provide and encourage everyone who's on here to go to the website, sign up to be an ambassador, look through the resources and use them because it's wonderful.
Oh, thank you, Pam. I know Pam got to join us at a conference, space conference, right? So we saw each other in class. So yeah, every summer there is a conference at Kennedy Space Center called SPACE, which is of course a beautiful acronym, the Spaceport Area Conference for Educators. And it's a smaller conference, but it is amazing. And so I hope to see a lot of the people who were here today at different sessions to join. And it is open for international participation this year. So we're really excited about that, but we're a sponsor for that one. Last year, we were able to get Cyan Proctor to do a keynote for us, and she did a phenomenal job. And I got to reach out to Sharon now since she's in Orlando in our backyard and some other groups, but it's all ran through the Astronaut Memorial Foundation. And so it's a phenomenal one, but they do a lot here in Florida, and they are funded by the tag dollars that you see license plates with Space Shuttle on them. And they have a great mission. So it's one we love to support. And so anybody who's interested, we can give you more information about that. We always share that out to our ambassadors to let them know what's going on. I want to say, Pam, which programs do you get involved in? Which ones do you have favorites? Because you know me, I can't, they're like my children. I can't talk about them. They're
right.
Favorite.
Well, yeah. And I'm not in a classroom right now. I work with teachers. So one thing that I do is I try to point them to the different resources, but I have teachers using Pocket Labs and the Dream Up kits are the two things that I have teachers using right now. In addition to, I've had teachers use the Sally Ride cam. I have several friends that do the Growing Beyond Earth. I've done Tomato Sphere back when I was in the classroom. So yeah, just lots of opportunities. I'm interested in getting some teachers involved in the robotics. I think that sounds very cool. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I was thinking because when I was a teacher in the classroom at a charter school, we got paid if our class made enough kids signed up for it. So it was always looking for like really cool and exciting things to get the kids to sign up for. But I love it. It had some really impactful stories because there was a teacher, because we train the teachers too. You don't have to know anything about coding. MIT will do it. They have mentors that are the graduate and undergraduate students at MIT. They actually help the teachers and the students. There was a lady who came to the training. She's like, I barely turn on my computer. I don't know if I can teach coding. And she had that grad student go through all of it with her students. And this was a Boys and Girls Club in South Florida. And they actually ended up coming in second place in the state that year. And it was phenomenal. And these were kids that maybe not on the trajectory for even going to college, because they had that engagement with the MIT students, the MIT group. They were like, wow, I want to go to MIT. Like, I see myself there.
Cool.
That's amazing. So it's had some transformative, beautiful stories. And they even created a documentary around it. You can look up. I don't think we have that on our site right now, but you know, that's the kind of stuff that it really shows you how meaningful that kind of program can be. Yeah, I didn't even think about. Oh, go ahead, Pam.
Yeah, I was just going to say another thing, you know, you look at all these and it's like a little overwhelming, but a lot of them aren't things that are going to take a lot amount of time. Tomato Sphere, you know, you can have that ongoing project and it doesn't take a lot of time, but really works on helping them understand the experimental process, designing an experiment, the variables, and you can kind of tweak it for whatever level you're at. So I encourage you to look at them and not think, oh my goodness, I have to devote all this time to do these things. Pocket labs can be used so many ways. I have a teacher right now doing high altitude ballooning, and she just had a pocket lab on one of the balloons last weekend. I also, a shout out for the any chance to have your students design an experiment that might be able to fly on any kind of an opportunity. But I had, when I was in the classroom, I was able to, through another organization, because it is very expensive, but have my students design an experiment for SSEP, and they were finalists, and that experience was amazing. So if you have any chance to do any of the opportunities where you're designing an experiment to go up to the ISS or on a balloon, a glider, whatever, I just really encourage you to take advantage of those.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, thank you, Pam. That was wonderful. I know it just reminded me too, there's a ton of, you go to the website, there's even a ton of curriculum in general we connect with. I forgot that we developed a whole line of curriculum for an IMAX movie called Beautiful Planet. And now that IMAX movie is available on Hulu. And so you don't have to go to one of the big science centers to see it. You can check it on Hulu and do activities with your students just through that. So, but everything from videos, like, you know, the popular questions kids always ask, right? Like, how do you sleep in space? How do you eat in space? How do you go to the bathroom in space? All of those, there's some great video links that you can send, click on and share them with students as well as the NASA STEM demonstrations for lots of different NASA content. We partner with them. Of course, if you don't have Spot the Station app, they have a brand new app now with NASA. So I highly recommend do that, so you can know when space station's coming over. You can pick an email or a text alert to let you know. And so it's a great way of connecting people to space, whether you know they're already highly engaged or not. Oh, thanks for sharing again, Alistair. See your book again. I feel like the careers thing is really the future. You hear about the government here in the US really putting lots of money behind the gaps in different careers and areas. We see a really big importance. We have a partnership with SETI, if you're not familiar with that. But they have a link to working with astronomy students in community colleges. Of course, community college students are students who are probably just taking as elective. They don't know what they want to do. They just need to get that degree before they move on to university. And they're like, wow, they can see all the careers and opportunities are available in space. But they just took this astronomy course because it was a fun science elective they needed. And so there's so many ways to reach students, and then so many pathways to space. A lot of the jobs we have here don't need a university degree, right? They need a certification or a specialty skill, right? And so looking at those different pathways are really important.
And sometimes just brute strength, believe it or not.
Yeah, the grit. Got to have
Grit.
that grit.
But it's not only going to be funded by the government, it's going to be funded by individuals, private corporations. There'll be collaborations. There'll be several countries and corporations. Everybody. It's the money is going to come from so many sources now, because they now see the profit. Remember this: a company is not going to invest in space unless there's a profit to be made.
Mhm.
And then, but now that they see opportunities in mining asteroids, for example, mining the moon and asteroids, making products in zero gravity, they're going to get themselves hitched to the wagon. They're going to join the bandwagon.
Oh yeah, we look at in-space production, in-space manufacturing, but I feel like our biggest customers, often is pharmaceutical companies. They see the value in protein crystallization. They see you'll even hear like I think Keytruda. That's one of the ones that this great resource, right? That's happened and developments that have happened because of the space research. For the pharmaceutical company. And so we see a lot more knocking on the door ready for that. And so I think we're getting there. We're revving up, right? To that big boom in the industry. We're at the cusp of it, which is exciting, right? Like, you always talk about where did it all begin? Where did it start? And we were here, we were at the cusp of when this great, amazing new breakthrough and things were going to happen. So it makes it exciting for the future when there's some things that we don't want to get excited about in the future. This gives us hope and excitement for the future.
Yes, it does. Especially with everything that's going on right now. And I'm not going to get started on that.
Yeah. That's a whole nother session.
Another source would be space tourism. Communications was the first, obviously, but now it's expanding. Space tourism is really starting to take off. You've read the recent flight of the Virgin Galactic with a few space tourists and some experiments on it. I don't know the exact details of it, but and a lot more do it. The rich are going to be first, obviously. I know that a lot of people may have negative attitudes about that, but they are going to pave the way, whether you like it or not. But the thing about it is that when more of the rich come and they make money, they'll be able to use that money to research, to make better quality spaceships. And so sending the next band of tourists will not cost as much and more people will come. And that's not going to affect just space tourism, but it's going to affect the ships and the launch business altogether. Because if sending tourists in space gets cheaper, so will sending cargo in space.
Mm-hmm.
That'll get a lot cheaper, and so we'll be sending more and more, and so the space industry will really take off. One thing can have sort of like a multiplier effect.
Oh my gosh, 100%. And that's one of the things I loved even about NASA was the spinoffs, right? We're pushing for these great advancements, but humanity is going to benefit from these, right? Everything from the phones we use to our remote controls, to the braces, to the coats, to so many things here on our planet. I love, I'll leave you all with this little note because I was helping a gentleman in the grocery store. He had just got a pacemaker put in and he had a negative comment about, I had my Mars t-shirt on. He's like, we waste too much money going to Mars. And I was really good and bit my tongue to say, the advances we've made in space enabled that pacemaker that you have in your chest to happen. And so when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, how much, just these types of things that we're pushing towards can advance, humanity, it's remarkable. And so that's why I've had opportunities to work outside of the space industry, but it is where my heart is, my passion is. And I hope you all feel that too when you go out into your day-to-day lives with space.
Yes, it's my passion also.
Yay. Well, thank you guys for joining. I think we're at time. Thank you, Mark, for inviting me and Courtney, and we really appreciate it. But you guys reach out to us if you have any questions and need to connect further. But thank you all.